नमस्री यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. You know today's topic, head or heart. We have both, right? So what are their roles? We know heart is the center of feeling, love, kindness, compassion. Such positive emotions, heart is the center. And it is also the center for negative emotions like envy, jealousy, anger, hatred. So heart is the center of feeling, center of both positive emotions and negative emotions. You know the function of brain, header. What it does is the center of reasoning. Center of reasoning. So functions like analysis, weighing the pros and cons, faculty of discrimination, right? It discriminates between good and bad, right and wrong. So all those functions are actually belong to the head. So they perform two different functions. In general, if you see, they complement each other. Because after all, both are your parts, your head and your heart. So if I have good opinion of you, okay, I consider you as a good man. My mind says you are a good man, a good person. Then naturally my emotions towards you will be positive. I will be able to love you. It's not possible I consider you as a bad man and then I will love you. It doesn't happen like that, right? And mind says you are a bad man and then I have to love you. It's very difficult, right? So generally they go together in the sense they complement each other. For example, I have love for you. And naturally my emotion, my thought towards you will be positive. So it's not possible that you have love for somebody and actually you generate negative thought about that. You consider them as evil. It's not that. So emotion and thought in that way, they go together. Your heart is unselfish. You are an unselfish individual. And then your thought always will be pure and positive. Today we all suffer from, this negative thought syndrome. And that comes because of this selfishness only. If the heart is 100% pure, is purely unselfish, and you will only generate positive thought. Your thought will never trouble you. So how to generate love in the heart first? How to become unselfish? You have to identify with the whole life. Just as your life is important for you, you will consider other life is also equally important. Because all life is one. When you reach that state of understanding, when you reach to that state of Advaita, no two, it's all one life, then your heart will be positive. Your heart will generate only love towards all the beings, and then you have only positive thought to the exclusion of negative thought, irrespective of other individuals' behavior, other individuals' conduct, because you don't have the thought of other. That is also my life, extension of my own life. So that is the peak and the pinnacle, the zenith that we need to reach. That is the last goal. We invite when the drama continues. So we are all not born, with 100% unselfishness. Some degree of selfishness with it. Why this selfishness? Because we identified with the body. That's what Vedanta says. You identify with the body, which is unreal, which is not the real dimension of your personality. Then naturally you tend to be selfish. You want to accumulate things for this little psychosomatic complex because you are identified with it. You think you are this. But once you let go this identification with this and identify with the entire life, identify with the life principle in other lives, other beings, then there is no difference between you and me. At that level and at that state, you will have only love towards the entire creation. So that is actually the state of heart of an enlightened human being, because you have reached that state where actually you see the whole universe as part of that one life principle, or one consciousness, you will never have any occasion to generate negative thought in your brain. And that is the highest state of peace and bliss and ananda. The heart is full of love and mind is full of positive thought only towards the entire creation. Then that state of experience is considered the highest state of experience. So you have enhanced the perception of life to such an extent that you will derive such immense joy from within. Others, they don't understand your inner being. Others, they don't understand your inner state of happiness. The Buddha had experienced that. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had experienced that. Many of the sages and mystics. That's the reason, after attaining to that realization, they would ask us, they would exhort us, oh man, you are searching for happiness in the outside world in vain. It is not out there. Within you actually is that highest happiness. What is that happiness? It cannot be even described in words. Words actually can't reach there. Thought also cannot reach there to describe that level of that happiness. That is the state that is possible to you. So for that, you have to try. You have to let go your identification with the body and mind. Immediately it's not possible because it has become chronic with us. So many births we had lived with total identification with mind and body. All of a sudden, if you ask, if you want to let go of this, it takes time. Practice is required. Sadhana is required. The spirituality is all about that. So in general, they complement each other, except in a few cases. So today, if the people are suffering, that suffering is because our own intelligence is not working in our favor. Where the suffering is coming? From the mind. It's my mind after all. But mind is giving me pain. My mind only is giving me pain. My mind only is giving me trouble. That means what? One of my own organ has turned against me. It should work in favor of me, but it's working against me. It's as simple as that. So why it is working against me? Why it doesn't give me happiness? Actually, it is tormenting me. It is troubling me. It is torturing me. Torture is not coming from outside as such. Okay, nobody is hitting us with a stick, or nobody is, piercing us with a dagger. Nobody is abusing us also. Okay, on a constant basis. Now and then I'm a little quarrels within the family, but on a daily basis, nobody is hurting us. What is hurting us, what is giving us pain is our own mind, our own thought, basically. It's not working in our favor. Why? This is the thing. When there is selfishness in the heart, our own intelligence will turn against us. That is actually becoming the big source of suffering in the world. And as Swamiji says, unselfishness is more paying, but we don't have the patience to practice it. In his Karma Yoga lectures, he says this. Unselfishness is more paying, but we don't have the patience to practice it. And we don't really believe in that really pays. And today people have come to the conclusion that selfishness pays. And if you are not selfish, there is no survival for you. Though we have examples to prove otherwise. Though we have a number of examples. So, the Swamiji says that we read too much into this Darwin's theory of evolution also. Darwin's theory of evolution, that survival of the fittest and struggle for existence. So, but if you look at our sages and saints, they never competed with their fellow human beings. They never preached this survival of the fittest. What they preached is, you sacrifice your life for the sake of others. You sacrifice your life for the sake of others. In the process, you evolve to the highest. You reach the zenith of evolution. Not by competing, not by pushing others aside, or not by amassing wealth, or not by wielding power. Those people actually whom you consider as ideal people are perfected human beings, role model human beings, Yuga Purushas. We worship them, we revere them because of their sacrifice. Through sacrifice, through unselfishness, they became great. They are the role models whom we are worshipping. Not that we are worshipping a selfish individual, not that we are worshipping a past king who had actually ruled a vast empire. We are not even worshipping people who became billionaires or who actually were very rich, who had accumulated a lot of wealth. Whom we are worshipping only the people who have become unselfish, who have sacrificed their lives for the sake of others. How could they do that? Why we are not able to do that? The only thing is conviction is not there. They had the conviction that unselfishness would be more paying, and they put it into practice and they attained the goal. So this conviction has not formed in us as yet. We read, we hear, but the conviction has to grow in us. It has to become strong. Unselfishness is more paying. I will try to become as unselfish as possible. Then you struggle and you practice it. There will come a time Once you identify with the entire life, you understand that no sacrifice is too great. And also, Vedanta says that body and mind are unreal. What you can sacrifice, only the unreal you can sacrifice. Real doesn't need any sacrifice, right? Real is only one. Who has to sacrifice whom? The sacrifice is always when there are two. I am sacrificing for you, or you are sacrificing for me. The real is one. There is no sacrifice in the real. The real is only in the unreal. The sacrifice is only in the unreal. So the body and mind are the two unreal dimensions of a personality, but we are not able to sacrifice this because the third dimension of a personality, namely the consciousness of the soul. So we don't believe in it as yet. Does it exist? Well, it is there. You're already spiritual. Because of that only the body and mind function. But it is not in our experience as such because it is so dormant and so hidden. Why it is dormant and why it is hidden? Why can't we have even a glimpse of it? Why can't we even perceive it? Because that is because we have identified with the body to such an extent that forgetfulness has happened. We have totally forgotten the third dimension, the real dimension of our personality. When we don't even see it, don't have a glimpse of it. And that is the reason. So then you have to begin somewhere the journey. You have to believe in the words of great sages who have perfected themselves. What reason you have to disbelieve them? They had perfected themselves and they said, they were not telling untruth. What they had experienced in their personal lives, and they were giving the same to us and asking us to practice and then gain the highest. So, first this conviction must grow in us that unselfishness is more being, self-sacrifice actually is the highest thing to attain. And what is that self-sacrifice? It's not even a sacrifice in the sense, but you are sacrificing for yourself. What you can sacrifice after all? Only the unreal, body and mind. And sacrifice the unreal and attain the real. It's as simple as that in terms of theory. But today, it's kind of disease because we tend to go with the majority. The majority are like that, so let me be also like that. The majority have not attained perfection. Majority don't aspire even for perfection. As the Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhe yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam vetti tatvataha. Among thousands of beings, if few will strive for spiritual perfection, among those who strive for that perfection, if few will attain to me, because they won't be able to let go, they won't be able to become unselfish in this one birth. So the struggle actually continues and continues. And of course, our scriptures give us the assurance that you won't lose anything. Okay, you could practice only 10% of unselfishness. It doesn't matter. It will be continued for the next birth. And next birth, little more. And one birth, you will attain perfection. So, but that aspiration must be there. Then only life becomes beautiful. So many obstacles will come, definitely. Definitely there is Maya. Definitely obstacles will be there. Hardships will be there. Hindrances will be there. Hurdles will be there. But life becomes challenging. Life becomes beautiful only when you face them. But if that goal is not there, that aspiration is not there, life meaningless it becomes. You attain everything, but still there will be some sense of ennui or emptiness within you. But still there is something to be attained, something to be attained. People are not able to figure it out. And that's the reason people who have money and they want to have more. Whatever that is there already, you're not able to spend on you. You understand that you can't spend on you, but still you go for more. Why? You don't know, that's all. You're not even thinking. You don't even stop to reflect on the nature of human life, nature of our existence. They're just on the race, running and along with others, leading meaningless lives. But sometime in future, but now your bodily vigor you have, you're running here and there. There will come a time, body will not cooperate with you. And body says, I'm totally exhausted. I can't run anymore. But we don't understand that when we are in the prime of youth and the middle age. One day actually the body will not cooperate with us. But the mind wants to go out. Mind wants to do things, but the body says, I can't. And that is actually the most painful phase of life. Many people experience that, but they can't even tell that. So because they think that this is the condition of everybody. So body doesn't have the inexhaustible energy, right? It's a definite amount of energy. And you are fast expending that. And there will come a time, because for all 30, 40 years, the mind has only learned to go outside, attain things. But the mind needs an instrument, the body. But the instrument will not cooperate with you beyond a time, beyond an age. And then actually there's struggle. That's why, the world has become a struggle because there is so much of rajas in the mind, but body becomes tamasic. Body slowly is actually heading towards death. Okay, body is slowly heading towards death, and so the bodily forces become weaker and weaker, but the mind actually is still strong because you have cultivated desire and passion for things outside. You never learned to turn inside. And so there is a conflict between body and mind, and that is a struggle. So you have to do spiritual sadhana. You have to reflect for that. So, okay, whatever I have is more than sufficient to sustain the body, physical body. Why should I go for more things? So, because the spiritual goal is not there, people are not able to figure out, the next evolution. What is the next phase in evolution? What is the next step? Human being, and what next? From a great human being, perfected human being, from brute man to Buddha man. That is the goal. Really in between, right? Brute man to Buddha man, perfected man. If that goal becomes clear, it becomes easy for people, to remain simple. Otherwise, you will be greedy only at a material plane. Try to be greedy at a spiritual plane. Try to be a spiritual sadhaka. And somebody else is also a spiritual sadhaka, spiritual practitioner. He is doing meditation for 1 hour. You do meditation for 2 hours. You compete with him. Okay? He is doing bhajan for 1 hour. You do bhajans for 2 years, 2 hours. Okay, you compete with him. And such competition doesn't exist. But still, in ancient India, it used to be like that. A sage son would compete with another sage son. What? Where? In spiritual sadhana. Because they want to attain perfection quickly, because the body is not going to last forever. Before death comes to me, I must attain spiritual perfection. I must become a Jivan Mukta, living free. Such a goal they would set before. They would eat on roots and fruits. They thought actually investing even one day just to, provide for this body and just to provide good food or comfort for this body is a waste of time. That was the kind of, understanding they had. Otherwise, they would have started agriculture and they would have done everything, but they never cared for all that. So the only work worth doing is the spiritual sadhana. Everything else they considered waste of time, waste of life, waste of lifespan. Whereas we have completely become different. Not even an iota of a little time for spiritual sadhana, not even prayer, few. Mahatma Gandhi used to take time off every day for prayer. Though he led a very busy life, he never actually, even for one day, in my understanding, had actually given up that prayer. He used to say that is food for my soul. Those few minutes, because he was a karma yogi, he was doing detached work, those few minutes was sufficient for him to connect himself with the divine. And that actually kept him on the track. Otherwise, he said at one place that had I not, for thus pray, had it not been for these prayers, had it not been for my repetition of Ramanama, I would have gone astray. I would have lost the track and life path itself, he said. He got anchored in that. So that helped him actually not to stray away from path. He would have become otherwise to digest that much of name and fame in that lifespan. Not easy. All that he could digest because of the spiritual understanding and the spiritual anchor that he had. So it is very important that daily sadhana, minimum sadhana is important, even to keep our brains sane, to keep our brains commonsensical. Otherwise, we don't know some angularity, some cobweb, some condition gets deepened, enters into the mind and gets deepened. We won't become aware of that. Others will become aware of that because our behavior actually is such. It is slowly changing and drifting in one particular direction. And others are feeling the inconvenience of it, but we don't notice it. You think you are perfect. Because the nature of the mind is such, it picks up some kind of, eccentricity, and then actually it makes it stronger and stronger if you don't observe it and if you nip it in the birth stage itself. You have to nip it off in the birth stage itself. You have to see that. Even to see that, contemplative life is a must, a little contemplation. As I said before, it's not for meditation as such. Meditation is a big word. Contemplation, just to understand our thought, where it is, in which direction the mind is drifting. So Atma Parisilana, we say, introspection, self-introspection. So even that much of time also we are not taking. We are not taking any time to study ourselves. This is very important. This is not such a simple piece of life. It's very difficult to put a definition on this. And that's actually the beauty of human life. It's not easy to put a definition on it. That actually makes it complex, but at the same time, it's exciting also. Exciting in a sense, suppose you could put a definition, okay, the mystery of it is revealed to you immediately, then the fun is lost, the charm is lost. You have understood it. Now there is nothing, to go for. Whereas God actually created in such a way that you may try to understand, but still actually it eludes you. What is man ultimately? The highest thing to be, researched is this. Nobody could give a precise definition for this. Vivekananda defines it beautifully. Human being is a curious mixture. There also uses the adjective curious. Curious mixture of devil, man, and God. Three in one. If you're only one, it's easy, but you're three in one. So different things actually will manifest at different times, that also. We won't even figure out when actually the divine is manifesting, when the devil is manifesting. The same man, devil, and divine combination. So that makes it very complex. A curious mixture, he says. So, if you can sublimate the devil and actually manifest more of the more divine, that happens only through unselfishness, one day you will touch that super consciousness. When your mind actually has grown to its fullest extent, in the sense that you have become perfectly sane and perfectly commonsensical, your reason has reached its peak, and heart also has expanded sufficiently. And when you reach the peak of the heart and peak of the feeling and the peak of the brain, and then actually you will hit that super consciousness, you will hit that supreme self, your real self or real self, then you have become perfect. Then there are no rebirths. Then there is no rebirth after that. You have attained to the highest. That is the goal. If you can figure it out, the goal, it becomes easy to adjust the things and to spend at least some time for that spiritual practice, which gives you the highest reward. Having come here with this human body, this instrument, which has the ability and capacity to experience the truth, to experience the infinite, and if you're not making any endeavor, effort to reach that and saying that I have worldly responsibilities, our scriptures say that you are wasting your life. Reduce those responsibilities, that you are cultivating those responsibilities. You can reduce them. We are here. We won't wait into the forest, not that you need to withdraw from the society and you need to lead a cloistered life. Not necessary. In the midst of all these daily, grind, we will be able to do that spiritual sadhana, provided you have the desire and the aspiration. People don't even have the aspiration. Then how you will be able to make time? If you have the zeal and aspiration, you will be able to make time. There is nobody who has no time for spiritual sadhana, but the thing is, inclination, that aspiration is not there. So that's very important. That's why satsanga is necessary. So the intelligence actually turns against us when the heart actually has not expanded sufficiently. When there is a love in the heart, our intelligence or mind works in favor of us. You'll be generating positive thought, good thought all the time. You're sweet from within. You'll enjoy your own being. You don't need any object to enjoy yourself. You generate such pure thought, such positive thought, because you have love in your heart. And mind totally works in favor of you, and all intelligence works in favor of you. Your faculties work in favor of you. Then you experience the joy from within. There is no love in the heart. It's a selfish heart. The mind naturally tends to become negative. Negative thought will be generated. And that actually becomes torturous. That's the reason renunciation is glorified in this culture. Renunciation is glorified in this culture because our people have understood that happiness comes from within. If I identify with this body and I become selfish, naturally negative thought will be there. The greater the renunciation that you can practice, the greater the joy that you will derive. And ultimately, if you reach the peak of renunciation, when you are completely, obliterated your identification with the mind and body, you will touch the super consciousness. This is called Nivrutti Marga. But today, as a culture, as a civilization, what are we aspiring for? Material wealth. It is necessary to some extent, some degree of material wealth is needed, okay? Because basic necessities of life are not fulfilled. You can't ask those people to practice, do spiritual sadhana. But today there is no scarcity of food. And poor man also gets food in the country. Everybody can practice spirituality. Everybody can become spiritual. But the percentage of the people who are practicing spirituality is very less. This is because, the material wants are unlimited. Unlimited material wants you are cultivating. Our education systems are such, and they only, help you to increase your material wants. And this is the problem. So everybody is going in one direction and you also want to go in this direction, but everybody is stressed out and you also will be stressed out. This is okay. Okay, it's okay. Others are stressed out, others have anxiety, others are going getting into depression. Is it okay for you also? No, if it is not okay, then you have to change the course of your life, change the direction of your life. That's what spirituality is. The Swamiji clearly said the rest of the races in other countries are so materialistic. Okay, they won't find any joy and peace in life. They will turn towards you for the spiritual food. Oh, Indian, be in a position to give that food to them when they ask for it. But what are we doing? We are aping them. Failed civilizations and failed society. They are great in some areas. And not that everything they need to learn from us or everything we need to learn from them. We have got something noble, we have got something exceptional, something great. You give this to them, but for various reasons actually. That does not happen in our culture. Fine. So our intelligence will turn against us only when the heart is full of selfishness. So in that way, actually, for that reason, at least you need to practice unselfishness as much as we can. So how can the heart be cultivated? It has to be cultivated from childhood, if you ask me. After an age, it is very difficult to become unselfish. Only when you are a child, actually, it becomes easy to mold, Telugu, we have a proverb, Mokkai Vanganadi Manai Ranguna. Okay, if you can't bend it, fig a small plant, a sapling, you can't bend it when it becomes a huge tree. So that is the age where actually you have to nurture the feeling of the human being, but that is not happening in our educational training. Very unfortunate and sorry state of affairs. All the focus is only on cultivating the brain, sharpening the intellect. And if you sharpen the intellect, okay, and heart is very narrow, and you have the sharpest of the intellect. You're extremely selfish individual, but highly intelligent. Your intelligence will definitely turn against you. Better you don't actually sharpen the intellect, sharpen the mind when you're not actually growing in feeling and heart. So the growth of the brain should be commensurate with the growth of the heart. The growth of the intellect should be commensurate with the growth of the feeling. If it is not, at least better don't try, don't make an attempt. That's the reason people who are actually very in economic strata, who are very poor or very low, they are actually not suffering as much as an educated person suffers. Where an educated person case, what has happened actually, you have cultivated the intellect, it has become very sharp now, but the heart has become very narrow. But nobody has, helped you to cultivate the feeling in the same measure as you have cultivated the intellect, and then actually your intelligence for sure turns against you. In case of poor people, they are not great brains. They don't have great brains. The intellect is not that sharp. Their heart is also not that great. It doesn't matter because both are actually parallel at the same level. So it's very important you cultivate the heart. But that kind of training, the parents should help or the education system in which you are should help. You must practice some charity. Little charities from childhood onwards. The entire life belongs to you. All are your forms only. All are forms of the same divine. These teachings you need to give to the child, and actually you should help the child to practice something of it. And child actually derives the happiness. He starts feeling good from within. Actually, I could help somebody. I could bring joy into the life of somebody. This gives joy to the child, and once he gets a taste of that kind of joy, he will start practicing it more and more. But our parents have the feeling and fear that if he starts practicing this kind of charity, he will become a beggar. He will give everything that he has got. In the process, he will become a beggar and he will be on the street, he will be on the road. These are all hypothetical fears. He will become a Buddha. If his heart expands fully, completely, if he learns to identify with the entire life, it is possible. I can't become a Buddha now. It's very difficult after a certain age to cultivate the heart. But you give me a child, I will make him a Buddha. I can't become a Buddha, but you give me a child, 5-year kid, I will make him a Buddha. In this birth itself. In this birth itself. This is the thing. But our convictions are wrong. Our understanding of life is wrong. Most of the fears are hypothetical. They don't experiment. They don't have courage to experiment. Okay, my child, keep on giving, keep on giving. You will become great. No mother tells, no father tells. Hide, store things, save things for yourself. Tomorrow you need it. He can digest only one laddu, but he will eat two. And there's another guy actually, another poor child actually. Okay, he can digest two, but he doesn't have even one. Okay, so you give that, and your heart has expanded. Anyway, you can't consume. You should not consume because you will become obese. You will become obese and you will become diabetic. Okay, it's not good for you. You eat the second laddu, so you share that with others. The poor kid. It benefits both. You have expanded your heart, and his hunger is satisfied. He will come out of malnutrition and you will save yourself from obesity. It's good for both. So this is how actually the society should be. That's the reason God has created this differentiation. God has created these variations. But now you think that I'm so fortunate, I'm so privileged. I'm born in a privileged family. My father is quite rich, and that is a poor guy. He's an unfortunate guy. Okay, and you think you are actually favorably placed. Why? The great drama of life. Why God actually, put you in favorable circumstances? Why actually He will put him in unfavorable circumstances? There must be some meaning. There must be some reason, right? God actually allowing you to practice some charity, and actually He is giving you the privilege to expand your heart. He has given you the chance. A little more privilege you have got, that's all. Make use of it. Make good use of that. It is for your good. It is for your spiritual growth. It is for your perfection. The world is created. The poverty is created on the other end so that you can practice some charity and expand your heart. Now you think that I have earned it with, sweat of my brow. I earned it with my own intelligence and energy. And by investing my time, I should spend everything on my own self or on my immediate kith and kin. This is the selfish idea. Anyway, you won't be able to spend it, even if you try. If you spend also, you will lose it. You will lose your health. Physical health, you will lose. This is why nurturing the feeling is so important, but hardly there is any school which focuses on this. And as Jesus says in the Bible, actually, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. Once the heart is full of love and full of humanistic consideration and full of feeling, you don't have to worry about knowledge. Knowledge will well up in your heart in torrents. You will become an encyclopedia. Infinite amount of ideas and infinite knowledge actually will well up from within you because you have touched the core of your own being by nurturing your feeling. So that actually the focus is not there. So both should grow together. So if you have the sharpest of the intellect and the greatest of the heart, very expansive heart, a very kind heart, a gentle heart, and then you will hit the peak of your energies, that is super consciousness. So we are here only to practice that. We are here only to practice that. We have to expand our heart and we have to sharpen our intellect. What happens if you have only heart and only feeling? There are people, good numbers of people in our society. They are very loving, very kind, and only feeling and emotion is there. But brain is not, is not commensurate with the feeling. What happens? Because they don't even know what is good for them. They will harm their own interest. They will harm their own interest in the sense because there is only feeling but no reason, then you are blind. You have feeling but you have no reason, you are blind. You have only reason and intellect but you have no feeling, you are lame. Last class we discussed this point. Albert Einstein said, what did he say? Science and religion, he says. Science without religion. Science without religion. What did I say? Lame. And religion without science is blind. Similarly, heart without reason is blind, and reason without heart is lame. So you need feeling to drive you forward. But in which direction you will go? Who has to decide the direction in mind? The reason has to decide. So if reason is not there and you don't know in which direction to turn your emotion, you will harm your own interest. Worldly interest, of course. So will there be conflict between head and heart? Will there be a situation in life? Yes, sometimes the situation will arise. But otherwise, in general, they complement each other. When a heart is full of selfishness, a negative thought will be generated. When a heart is full of unselfishness, positive thought will be generated. They complement each other. As I have mentioned, I consider you as a good human being, and the love will be positive emotion will be generated towards you. Okay? I have love for you, then positive thought will be generated for you. They complement each other in that way. So they always go together. But in certain cases, there will be conflict between head and heart. When, you may ask, you are going on the road, somebody met with an accident. He's in a pool of blood, and nobody is around. You have to call an ambulance. Your heart says that actually, you just help the person. Your mind actually, which is a discriminating intellect, which weighs the pros and cons, and it will tell you that. So then you will have to give so many answers to a police, they will ask you so many questions. Okay, you will have to go to the police station. You may have to go to the court. It projects because mind there is imagination. There's faculty of reason. It says that. So better you go away. You don't have to do. So in such situations, there will be conflict between head and heart. And when there is such conflict, better follow the heart. Better follow the heart. You will have to take some trouble for sure, but that is worth taking. You will gain afterwards. You will gain afterwards, he said. The brain says that no, why trouble upon your head? Why do you take it? Why do you take this trouble upon yourself? Better go away. The others are also going away. Um, Definitely there will be some trouble, but it's worth taking that trouble. When there is conflict between head and heart, follow the heart. But otherwise, actually, they go together. So the thought actually will be according to the emotion, and emotion will be according to the thought. So if you see the whole world, now I have reason, I don't have much of feeling, but how I will be able to cultivate positive feeling in my heart? You use your reason in such a way that now you have heard so many times, the great sayings of the Upanishads that Isha Vash Midam Sarvam Yat Kinchi Jagatyam Jagat. Superimpose God on everything you see. The whole creation is a manifestation of the divine. All life forms are actually the same expression of the divinity, expressions of the same divinity. So when you constantly think like this, okay, there will be positive emotion in your heart. As of now, there is not much of positive emotion in my heart, but I want to generate that positive emotion. Through reason, I want to generate. By cultivating the brain, also, you can change the emotion that you generate in the heart. When you learn to superimpose God on everything you see, because everything is worthy of reverence and worthy of your worship. And once actually that kind of ideas get generated in your mind, and automatically your emotions also turn sweet. So in that way you can do. But so heart can be cultivated only when you are young, after 25, 30, and afterwards just you see in the world, you tell them actually, stingy person, somebody is very miserly or stingy. Not that actually he'll become a great charitable person in this life. All through life is stingy only. That is the nature. We come to the conclusion. Intellect can be cultivated. As a child, actually, you had a different kind of intellect. As a young man, you have kind of intellect, and after 30, 40 years, you will have a different kind of intellect. Intellectual growth happens constantly, not just through reading books, by observing others' experiences, by observing life, and by observing people. Intellectually, you can grow, but to expand the heart, to grow in feeling, is not easy. That has to be cultivated early in life. That's the reason, after some time, the individual, if he is not a charitable person, he is very tight-fisted, stingy, he will remain stingy person. Have you seen every person actually who you know as a stingy person, and suddenly he has become so charitable? Suddenly, actually, he has become a man of great heart? Rarely. It doesn't happen that easily. And Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Man muk ek kora darkar in Bengali. Man muk ek kora darkar means actually heart and head. Should go together. There should not be any conflict between these two. And he meant to say that you should not become a split personality. There's something within and something outside. That will happen only when you have calculative mind. Your heart says something, but your calculative mind says that no, this is not that. In general, they go together, but sometimes it's possible you use your reason too much and you don't give any consideration for your feeling. In such case, there is a possibility. That such slight conflict may come between these two. You feel something, but actually, in terms of thought, actually, you express something else. When you do that, that means you are a calculative personality, intensely calculative. Generally, it doesn't happen because when there is selfishness in the heart, only mind tends to become calculative. When the heart is full of love and well of tender feelings, the mind also generates only positive thought. It will not become that calculative. But otherwise, sometimes it's possible. My heart says that your heart has genuine feeling for the other individual, but you tend to become a little calculative. Pros and cons actually, because you have more of analytical mind and more of reason and less of feeling. And then actually, naturally, you will harm your own interest. And that's why he says that for spirituality, for spiritual life, you should not become such a complicated or complex human being. Okay, they should go together. Your emotion and thought should go together. And man muk ek kora darkar. And there is something like purity of motive and purity of purpose. There are individuals in whose heart, actually, because of course, if you are unselfish all the time, you'll have purity of motive and purity of purpose. Otherwise, if intentions are bad, motives are bad, then it's not that easy to change that heart. Because you have inherited something from the past. So for that, actually, you need to have satsang, you need to pray to the divine. If the motives are not that pure, then you will have to struggle a lot. In whatever situation you put, actually, those individuals will, motives will always be bad. If your motives are bad, actually, then you will have to struggle a lot. So to purify the heart, to have only the purity of motive, you have the purity of motive, but you face a lot of resistance in the world. It doesn't matter whether you become successful or not. Your intention is good or not. You have purity of motive or not. For what you are working. Sometimes you may become successful, may not become successful. But what is your intention? If your intention is good, it doesn't matter even if you don't become successful. You have made you try. In the Mahabharata, there is a story of the Nadi Janga, and it comes in Shanti Parva. There was a crane. It was a divine crane. Okay, created Brahma had showered his grace upon this crane named Nadi Janga in a forest. One day, there was a Brahmin. He had given up all his caste ordained duties, and he fell into evil ways. He married a tribal woman, a forest woman, and comes to live in the forest with that woman, and started eating meat against his caste duties and hunting things and other things. So completely fallen. So one day, because unable to bear the poverty, he wanted to earn some money. So he was going to a city along with a group of traders, along with a caravan. When they were growing in the forest, there was a mad elephant chased them, charged them and chased them, and they all ran helter-skelter, and the mad elephant killed many people, but this Brahmana could save himself and ran in the northerly direction and then went to a tree. He got totally exhausted and then he sat under the tree. This crane, Nadi Janga, the divine crane, the crane that has won the grace of Brahma, created Brahma, saw this man, oh, today I have a guest. He seems to be very tired. Thinking that, the crane comes down, the big crane, huge crane, the divine crane. Nadi Janga Rajadharma, the crane's name. So he wanted to entertain his guest. So he brings fish, he brings fruits, he brings fresh water to his guest, and uses his feathers as fan, and then helps the guest to overcome his tiredness. And then the crane asks, what is your problem? Where are you going? Then he says his story that I have fallen into the evil ways and I have married a forest woman. Unable to suffer this poverty, I want to have more money, so I'm going to the nearby city. So I was going with a group of business people, and then this mad elephant charged at us, and everybody ran away in different directions. Then I came in this direction. And then the crane says, you don't worry about your poverty. You have come to me, the son of Kashyapa, and I will help you to become rich. I will give you money. I have a good friend by name Virupaksha. Tomorrow you can go to him. For tonight, actually, you rest. You accept my hospitality. And nicely, the Brahmana sleeps. And the next morning, Nadi Janga says, you just follow this path and go straight. After 3 yojanas, you find the kingdom of Virupaksha. And he goes there to the king and tells the king that Nadi Janga has sent me or to you. Oh, then king understands. So what for you have come? Then I want money. The king looks at him, at his face, and says, this face is not a fair face. This man is not a trustworthy man. Virupaksha, things like that. Virupaksha had that discernment. By looking at the face, he would be able to tell what kind of individual he is. But anyway, he thinks my good friend Nadi Janga sent me over to me. So why should I discriminate? Why should I judge the man? So he wants some money. He said, okay, fine. Today you accept my hospitality, be my guest. So they had given him good food and nice accommodation. The next day was Kartika Purnami. So the Virupaksha, the demon king, only for namesake is a demon king, but a noble king. So he invites all the Brahmins of the city and seekers of the knowledge, highest knowledge. Auspicious day, he gives them many good gifts. And along with them, he actually honors this Brahmana also. He gives him a lot of money. He gives him silver, he gives him gold, he gives him diamonds, as much as he could carry. And actually the golden vessel in which he had eaten, that vessel also Virupaksha gives to this Brahmana sent by Nadi Janga. A great joy actually. He goes back to Nadi Janga. And Nadijanga says that you just rest for tonight. Tomorrow, actually, you can go to your home. And for that night, as he's resting under the tree, he thinks actually, this forest seems to be a very vast forest. Tomorrow I'll start my journey. And to reach my home, I think it might take a lot of time. So where will I have to eat my food? Where will I get my lunch? This crane actually is a very fat crane. Okay. So I'll kill this, and I will, already he had been into that evil ways of killing animals and birds for his survival because he had married a forest woman. The dead of the night, when the bird was asleep, he takes a huge stick and hits it on his head and kills it. And kills it, he removes the feathers, he removes the bones, and only that flesh he ties up and then goes his way. This Nadijanga every day used to go to Virupaksha in the morning, and he would give Rajadharma, duties of a king, duties of a good king, how a good king should rule, what is the right duty for king, good king. So every day he used to go to Virupaksha, but that day he has not gone. The Virupaksha was worried. Every day my good friend used to come by this time, but today he has not turned up. So then he senses something wrong. So the ill woman actually, he could see, because he had already seen this man, it doesn't seem to be fair face, it doesn't seem to be trustworthy. Then he sends his guards, you just see what happened, why my friend has not come. So all guards come to the forest, to the place where actually the great tree, banyan tree, where actually the Nadijanga was staying. Then they saw the bird was not to be seen, then they searched around, and then they saw the feathers and a few bones of this crane, Nadijanga. Then they collect those things and report it back to the king. And then king says, very angry, he said, then he sends all his guards, comb the forest and bring back the wretch of a human being to me. So they comb the forest and they find out this Brahmana and then brings him to the king, Virupaksha. Virupaksha says that don't bring him to my presence. He cut his body into pieces and you eat. Because they were Rakshasas, Virupaksha was a demon king. And then the gods say, O king, we are not that low to eat the flesh of this man. This man's flesh is not worthy of eating. Even for us also, though we are demons. So they reject, we can't touch this flesh. So then you do whatever, but don't bring him to my presence. The Virupaksha says, I can't see the face of a man who actually has become ungrateful to his benefactor. Okay, that crane actually has helped him, my friend, but he turned against him and killed him. Such an ungrateful wretch, I don't want to even see his face. And you go and take him away from me. And what the gods they do, actually they kill him. They kill him, they cut his body into pieces, and they throw that flesh to dogs. The dogs also refuse to touch the flesh. They say dogs also has a lot of intelligence. Okay, they know what to eat, what not to eat, because he's such an ungrateful human being. And this flesh is not for us. So the dogs also they don't touch. Then afterwards they burn the flesh off. And this Nadijanga also, all the parts that they collected, and then with great distress in his mind, Virupaksha does the final rite for his good friend. But he was grief stricken. He goes back to his palace, and then Indra appears before him. Seeing the grief of the Virupaksha, Indra asks, Virupaksha says, with the leader of gods, actually my good friend has passed away. Please bring him back to life. I can't live without him. So then Indra says, while you are doing the last rites of your friend Nadijanga, while his body parts were being burnt in the pyre, the divine cow Kamadhenu happened to give milk to its calf in the nearby bush. There was a breach. That breach carried a little of that foam of that milk to the pyre. And because of that, your friend had become alive, Nadijanga. And now he's coming back to the palace. In a few minutes, he will be here. So he will come to you. And the king was very happy. And Nadijanga comes to the king, and then he forgives the person who had actually killed him, murdered him. And Nadijanga was very unhappy because of me, he had to fall into that, flight. And he requests Indra, bring him back to life. The person who had murdered him, Nadijanga asks, bring him back to life. So because of me, because seeing me fat, and he coveted my flesh, and that actually made him do the wicked act against his own interest. So in a way, I am responsible for this wicked act also, probably. So bring him back to life. And Indra, out of his, say, you are actually a being favored by Creator Brahma himself. So Indra After Nadijanga requests him, brings this Brahmana also back to life. And Nadijanga arranges all the wealth that Virupaksha had given to him. Okay, give it back to him. So he goes away from that place. So this story was narrated by Bhishma to Yudhishthira. And he says that two things you should not do in life. What are those two things? One, you should never be ungrateful to your friend. You should never cheat your friend. Okay, that's a great crime. And also, you should not show ingratitude to the person who has benefited you. You should never turn krutagna. The word in Sanskrit is krutagna. Ingratitude is a great sin. And also, cheating a friend is actually a great sin. So avoid these two. Why did this Brahmana done like that? Because of that evil. Sometimes, motives of the people, they're so selfish, they're always evil intention and evil motive. You should pity such human beings if you come across them. But they don't, if you understand that I have motives, my intentions always are bad, then actually you have to do a lot of tapas and a lot of penance. You have to come to satsanga and you have to pray to the divine to cleanse my heart. My intentions are bad, oh Lord, please cleanse my heart. Please see that my intentions are pure always. You may have to suffer something physically at a physical level and psychological level, but you will get the ultimate fruit when you cleanse your heart. When you purge your heart of all evil intentions and negative, motives. It's very important. The purity of the motive is very important. That's why the great people, they never get tired of doing good to the people. Though things won't happen as they expect, right? You want to do good to the society, but it doesn't happen always. But they don't care. But their motive is pure all the time. They struggle, they strive, and they strive. They process, they sacrifice their life, but they don't care. They don't never think that such as they have done a great sacrifice. That will be the thing. If you have the purity of motive, you will never get tired. You will become a noble human being. You will attain perfection. As Swamiji says, the world is like a dog's curly tail. Nobody can perfect it. It's a relative world. By nature, it is imperfect. Perfection doesn't belong to the realm of the physical and the psychological. Perfection belongs to the realm of consciousness alone. Only spirit is perfect. That is, what is physical can never be perfect. What is psychological can never be perfect. So, to attain or to aim for perfecting this world actually is a foolish act. But you want to enhance the good in the world as best as you can. Strive for that ceaselessly and you will be benefited in the end. The world will remain like that only. The some amount of good and some amount of evil in the world will always be the same. But by making the effort to enhance the good in the world, you will become perfect, you will become noble, and you will attain to your spiritual perfection. So it's very important that you purify your heart. So we have, not that we are a mixture of good and bad, most of us, sometimes pure motives come into your heart and sometimes bad motives arise in our heart. But if you want to cleanse it completely, then you have to take the help of the divine. The spiritual sadhana is basically for this, to purify the heart. Once the heart is pure, irrespective of the situation you are placed in, you are able to generate only pure thoughts and pure emotion, love, and then your mind also will work in favor of you and only positive thought will be there. And that's why this training of the heart must happen from early in life. Otherwise it's very difficult after a certain age. Brain can be cultivated, intellect can be cultivated. So as I have said, this unfortunate thing is this, schools and colleges, mostly schools, they don't teach this. They don't understand the importance of nurturing the feeling because this aspect is not taken care of. And today people are feeling bored. Many of them are bored to death. They don't know what to do. Bored life. How can that be? Such a vast creation has happened? You feel bored. There's so much of suffering around. So many people are there who are worse off than you, and they're going to help them. You can nurture your feeling. The possibility is always there. Tremendous strength comes through feeling, as Swamiji says beautifully. Even the least good done for others awakens the spirit within and instills in the heart the strength of a lion. That is the strength. The true strength lies in the heart, because heart is the source of God. Heart is the seat of God. And there lies the true strength. So expansion of heart is more important. Mind actually automatically it follows the heart. Once you're full with, kindness and compassion, love in your heart, thoughts will come. You don't have to, struggle to cultivate the intellect. So Jesus says in the Bible, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. And your words will have a telling effect upon your listeners. They will listen with you, right? Attention. They will go straight into their heart. And you'll be able to transform at least a few lives. Otherwise, you can read books and cultivate the intellect. You can gather information in the mind and you can dole out that information you give out. It doesn't actually create any impact. Anybody can cultivate information. See, there is a memory card in the brain actually. Today, our memory card is redundant. We all know that actually. Computer has great memory and your smartphone has such memory. It can also store information. You also store information, taking from that only. What's the use? As you don't nurture the feeling, you feel bored. Otherwise, no. Keep nurturing the life. You will enjoy the beauty of life. You'll see the beauty of life. You'll understand the beauty of life only when you start cultivating the heart. At least try to help a few human beings. If you can't help physically, at least intellectually, thought through thought. Sarve bhavantu sukinaha. Loka samasta sukino bhavantu. Okay? These prayers will help you expand your heart. So Swami says expansion is life, contraction is death. Because we are contracting ourselves, our mind is turning against us. We feel bored, we don't know what to do, we become desperate for a joy of happiness. So you do all kinds of things. You run for this, go for this, but you will not get it because it's not there, it's within you. That is not the place where you need to search for happiness. Happiness is within you. How much of happiness is within you? Infinite happiness. That's not even called happiness, it's a bliss. And that comes only when you expand your heart, when you nurture your feeling. So today onwards, actually, don't worry so much about cultivating the intellect, focus on the heart. How great a heart I have got. Can I expand it? And how much I can? You strive and try and see the life becomes more and more beautiful as you move forward. Okay, we shall stop here for today. We shall meditate for 2 minutes before we disperse. Ooh.